Well, we shouldn't be racist here. And we are. I mean, we are comparing human race with a computer. No. Sorry. We can compress time. That's an answer. Those who use iPhone do not believe in open source.
I do.
Everything is the same. I mean, Bill Gates does not have better internet than my son.
Internet versus metaverse is in the internet. In the metaverse, this can be a common experience.
This is a continuation of a long trend of us trying to escape, even through meditation or prayer.
It's close to kind of anarcho-capitalism.
Be a leader of a state, old school state.
No.
And it's so easy to be emotional with neural networks, by the way.
Is it?
They are cute. So intelligent.
Don't have much fun there anyway, right? Can they? Can a kid go into Decentraland and have fun there, except for walking on the streets?
The financial market so much.
I mean, in my opinion, this drop is a punishment for coming too late. We are God's artificial intelligence.
Creative Talks.
On air.
Lindo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Works well.
Oh, that's perfect. Hello.
What is she?
What do you see?
Yeah.
I see you as well.
Hello.
I see some red pants, yes.
Yeah, that's me. Easily identifiable, which is good and bad.
Is metaverse just a buzzword, or should we take it seriously?
Welcome. Go into this uncharted territory and start with the metaverse. And as you can see on the screen, if you fully rely on the news, what is the description of metaverse, you will find very contradictory and very puzzling, actually, statements from like utopian, idea, from completely, dystopian scenarios. What I found really interesting, there is already a metaverse for halal brands, a Muslim art network already started a metaverse for halal brands, so they are really ahead, I would say, in that. And as you can see, big corporations are already investing. They are appointing their top, executives to oversee the process. So I'm really curious where today's discussion will lead us and what we find out. And the start will actually start with the word immigration. Today, there is over nearly 60% of the people globally are connected to internet. About 93% is connected via their mobile device. And it was actually Tomáš a few years ago who proposed that we are actually emigrating. We are actually immigrants. So imagine, put yourself in the shoes of an immigrant, basically immigrating from the material world into this new, I don't know if I can call it world or realm, or I don't even know. So that would be the first question. What is going on? Maybe let's start with Tomáš, and please feel organically to follow him.
Well, I call it the new Republic of Internet. It is a state-like organization that in some respects is similar, in some not. For example, it doesn't have borders, but it has a currency of its own. It's a very interesting experiment. In some ways, it's a dream come true of anarchists. There is no king of the internet. There aren't even the elders of the internet, if you guys follow the IT crowd. It's a structure that happened spontaneously when the founders of the internet were founding the internet. They had no idea that it would become a world where you can live in. On the other hand, it's somewhat also a dream of this communist utopia where you don't need capital to enter the internet. In other words, my 7-year-old child can have or will have the same internet like the richest person in the world. It isn't differentiated. It's very easy to enter. And this new country welcomes immigrants, old and young, women, men, doesn't matter the religion, the race, the color of their skin. And it also is, in a simplified term, a continuation of a very old trend. We, mankind, have been living in abstract worlds since the very beginning of our existence. The oldest stories going from Enuma Elish through the Epic of Gilgamesh, all the way to Star Wars and whatnot. When you are entering a cinema for 2.5 hours, you are participating in what I call collective guided meditation, where hundreds and thousands of people invest their lives in trying to make an artificial story real enough for it to be believable for the duration of Star Wars. So we've been moving away from the world of the real, also theologically speaking. We've never, and philosophically, we've never been happy in this world. We've always tried to escape, starting from Plato, starting from Abraham, going all the way even from Buddha. People are trying to get like today. Today, I can assure you that we will travel the universes, go through singularities, go start with the Epic of Gilgamesh and end up in the future, while nothing will happen. It will be just waving of air. The only thing that will happen today will be words. So this is just another stage of us moving away from this world, which in Christianity isn't really even real. I was just reading Descartes, who was saying yesterday in his Prima meditation, in the Meditations on First Philosophy, that the spiritual world is more real than the material world. The last thing that I will say, it is useful for me and my thinking to take computer program as the most advanced form of mythology. Mythology is something that never happened, but exists always. And a computer program, including internet, is a world that doesn't really exist. It's a mythological world, but it structures our lives, and it is becoming a habitat where our souls or spirits will be able to not only spend most of the day, which it's already happening, but perhaps a vast majority of things will happen on the internet, and we will leave behind us what Jean Baudrillard calls the desert of the real.
Thank you. Please feel free to follow.
Did I miss something? Did I omit something?
Thank you very much. So we could invite just him, he can explain everything. But what to add now? I agree, of course, that the structural world of the internet and metaversum is kind of a, let's say, new etap of the internet, maybe. We are changing to, thanks to spatial computation, to some virtual environment where we can move with our avatars, where we can, by magical touch, open the doors of, I don't know, anything what you want, what your imagination can create. This is really something which is very free and which is really a part of a very long tradition. At the same time, I kind of like physical world still.
Me too. We are old school.
I think so. And yeah, there are questions about the base of metaverse and this relation to a physical world. If we all immigrate to metaverse, what will happen to the physical world? Will we, forget it's here? And also, we need energy. This immaterial world of a metaverse, it's really energy consuming. So will the physical world become just a battery for a metaverse?
Yep.
Okay.
Are we talking metrics here?
I think it will become a mythological world, like we have these mythologies of, Adam and Eve and Gilgamesh and Hercules. The illo tempore, we might become godlike creatures to the new world. In fact, theologically speaking, I think if you read Genesis, you can also read it as divine attempt to create artificial intelligence. We are God's artificial intelligence.
Interesting.
I would like to say that it is, even though we can create different abstract worlds, we can live in dreams, in imaginations, in total freedom, in the best what we could imagine. But at the same time, we need to have the roots. We need to have the roots to the real world. And what I can see, the danger of this great opportunity, otherwise, we can be open to it. But the danger is that we must not lose the roots that we have in this real world. Namely the freedom, that's something that we must really follow. And I would like to, maybe we can thank China for like this example of what could really happen. And we can easily imagine where it can go. So I think it's very important to keep in mind that we are here in this real world. That's the number one. That's where we get our energy, and that's where we need to live, to spend time as well. We need to move. We need to take care of our bodies and all the practical things. We need to take care, watch our liberties, our values, and then we can perhaps have a good free time in this abstract part.
Yeah. If I would react to that one, because I think what you did now is what we usually try to do is take a perspective, a very broad perspective of all the different aspects that play a role. That's the social life, that is technology, that is political surroundings, legal frameworks, and so on. And I think trying to take this foresight perspective here, I think there's so much which is where there's some thoughts on it, some ideas on it, how it can work in the future, how it might all connect. Some of it sounds a bit like utopia, so everything could be great. There's not different countries, there's just one global Earth, everyone can have his role there. And I was always wondering if that is really going to be the case, because if we look at the internet right now, and I know that's not supposed to be compared, but there are the strong actors in there which are, to a certain degree, directing everything that is happening there. So I'm actually, when I think about it, I have a lot of questions in mind, how it might unfold, which is very exciting. Can be scary on one side, can be great on the other side, and I'm really looking forward to understand how it's going to unfold in the future.
Very good. Thank you very much. Linda, would you like to add something or go to the next?
I mean, we touched upon a lot of different points here. We talked about what are some of the possibilities, and almost like on a philosophical or conceptual point of view. If you think about more practical, I mean, there's, at least when we're talking today, there is limitations to the point that we are dependent on VR technology, right? Today, 2021, a VR headset still costs about $300 to $1,100. So is that really, at this point, accessible to everyone? So that's a really, there's practical questions to it. Not just theoretical and conceptual questions to it. And then, again, we touched about some of the dangers potentially, and COVID has showed us maybe parts of what a future could look like, where we're living much more in a virtual reality than in a physical. There's a study, I think it was done in Germany recently, that in 2020 compared to 2019, so a year before, we're looking at children between 12 and 17, I believe, that like the usage of social media and games went up by 60%. Or so we've maybe we got a bit of a peak view of in the past 2 years of how such a more virtual and remote world could look like. And again, there's a lot of risks and challenges that come with it. And there's certain really huge opportunities for us as individuals, for us as a society, for the businesses within. So again, happy to look at either one of these angles. Obviously, from my perspective, business opportunities I find super interesting, and there's lots. That's why businesses are right now. It's a huge buzzword. A lot of businesses are investing in it, and there's a huge belief that there's quite a big potential in this new world, this new channel, if you will, from a business perspective. So I agree with many of the points that were said, and there's lots of angles to look at it.
Creative Talks.
On air.
We go to the next one, which is singularity. And I was wondering if there is someone in the room who could actually bring me a glass of red wine, because I just ran out of it. So if you can do it, I would be very happy.
After 6, you will experience a personal singularity.
Me too.
So thank you very much. Singularity. And I'll actually do the same exercise as I did it on the conference. How many of you are quite clear in what singularity means? Please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 10-ish, 15-ish, something like that.
So who doesn't know? Maybe we could ask the question.
Who does not know? I think the rest know mathematically.
Most people. I would ask the question who doesn't know in the real world.
Let's not put the theory of, whatever here. Okay, so it's... wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm running out of energy. Thank you very much. Very good. Singularity. We will start with the singularity which is actually described as a tech singularity. And as you can see on the screen, human intelligence in the green has been evolved, relatively boringly for millions and millions and millions and millions of years until where we are, now today. And the AI actually started going up from the, let's say, 50s, around 50s, so literally past, 70 years, took a real hook up. And as you can see, there is a hypothetical point where the AI will actually surpass the human intelligence. And the theory or hypothesis says that the moment it happens, the next is totally out of our control. Yeah. Right? Which is kind of scary in a first thing. It's this tipping point which is irreversible, and nobody knows what it will bring to our human civilization. So I would like to ask you about your insights related to the singularity which is tech-based. And actually, this guy says that it's happening in the next 3 years. So imagine you wake up after 3 years and the world is, as we know it, is gone. It's gone forever. Please, whoever feels like to step in and comment.
I just would be careful with our boring ancestors, Oh, these millions of years, it was so boring. We have artificial intelligence now. Yes, of course. Just a remark, it depends on the measure of intelligence, how we define it, and how does the imagination work. We, of course, see the development, the evolution of technology and the impact. And but it's more like fortune telling to imagine what will happen. And just another short remark. This was a Ray Kurzweil, I think, who used the term of singularity. I'm not sure if he was a part of the tradition, for example, of Chaitin and people who were thinking about the noosphere, of the evolution of consciousness, not only consciousness, but consciousness itself. And this tipping point would represent something really new, not only for humans. Maybe this is so scary, because we, in this perspective, have to admit that consciousness and intelligence does not have to be only human. And of course, it's a scary moment.
Absolutely.
I think I would also jump on the point that it's a question of how we define intelligence, right? So if it's only rationality, then I think this is going to happen very fast. Probably that's something related to the chart back there, which was there, or the quote. When we take into account emotions, personal connection, consciousness, and so on, then I think, well, I personally don't believe it's going to happen in the next 3 years. We had a conference 2 years ago, I think it was, about AI, specifically for foresight, because that's what everyone's looking for, the fortune teller. And we had a couple of AI professors there as well, and they said, well, it's not going to happen within the next 3 years. 3 years, it's not going to happen within the next 5 years. And the question they were really wondering about is how to train sort of a meta level of AI, where the AI is training itself, and then it gets scary. That's the point where they said,
But maybe stupid question. It's always a machine, and I think you just unplug it, right? In the end of the day, if something fails. Not anymore, right?
Well, where do you unplug the internet?
Right.
There's various questions that come with this discussion, right? First of all, it's a really anthropocentric view where we put kind of our intelligence on a pedestal and saying, okay, this is what intelligence should be measured with. So is it actually that once machine get to our intelligence that they become kind of super brains, or is there something beyond our human intelligence? Then is there a limit to intelligence, right? So I mean, there's certainly for instance, there's limits that we can recognize in this universe. There's limit of the speed of light, for example. There's research on how many relationships humans can engage in at one time. So again, a question is also for artificial intelligence. Will it hit some kind of fundamental limit of intelligence? Where is that limit? And it comes with a definition of intelligence. And then again, when it comes to the point of singularity, is what we can obviously predict is the speed of computing. So machines can perform calculations much quicker than we can. The question is speed, like what we said before, is speed kind of the main thing here? Does it mean because they're faster, they're smarter? Does speed equate to intelligence? So there's a lot of these, I think, fundamental questions of definition of intelligence that we have to ask ourselves when it comes to this discussion here.
Well, we shouldn't be racist here. And we are. I mean, we are comparing human race with a computer. And it's never written anywhere in the Bible nor in the skies that the biological form of life is the ultimate and final form of life. On the contrary, in the Bible it claims the exact opposite, and other religious texts as well. And I don't see it as, this robo-racism, or how to call it, it's quite understandable because almost all movies are robo-racist, you know, except for Star Wars.
True.
In Star Wars, you don't have this robots, but you know, Matrix, Blade Runner, you name it.
Hair, Ex Machina.
Yeah. It's all Robot RUR, which actually was a biological. Čapek's Robot RUR. I just reread it to my great surprise. They were biological. The Rosumovi universal roboti. Mm-hmm. I always thought that they were robots. So it's one of the few. Anyway, so this thing, I think, will mean that we will evolve as consciousness into another form. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, that what forms your body used to be an animal. If you had a Zizek, it used to be an animal a week ago. Mm-hmm. Before it was an animal, it was a plant. Before it was a plant, it was a stone. Before it was a stone, it was exploding in some supernova inside of a star. And we have all been there at the Big Bang, actually. Literally. Mm. We've not been there psychologically, but literally, you and I, we have been there at the Big Bang for one simple reason, that there wasn't anywhere else to be. Mm. So I don't view it as mankind versus robots. I view this as us simply immigrating, like we have done to the forests. Of course, we need forests to breathe, and we still go there once, twice a year because of mothers and grandmothers. But we don't live there anymore. It is not our habitat. We have created a city, and city is as far from nature as this, what I call religiously New Jerusalem. And if you read the book of Revelation, it is sort of a description of a four-dimensional space. This Jerusalem is floating. It's like a brick. It wouldn't work in a three-dimensional world. But in a four-dimensional world, yeah, that actually makes sense. So I have even like religious texts to back it up. So my trick, it's always dangerous when somebody says that. But my trick is not reading the prophecies of the ancient masters as what will happen after a death of an individual, but reading it as what will happen after the death of mankind. Mm-hmm. As such. We will be born again in this new spiritual sort of body. It's a nice description that still is valid somehow, useful to our conversation, even though it's 2,000 years plus old.
I'm really glad you say that because it brings hope, at least, if nothing else. Karel, would you like to?
I very much agree with what Tomáš has said. When I was a small kid, I thought that the most important for our lives is our intelligence. I don't think so anymore. It's about consciousness. It's about being happy in life. And in fact, we can upgrade our intelligence. We probably will be able to enhance and use a much higher level of knowledge, information, even intelligence through technologies. And I don't think we need to be afraid of that. I think it's okay. We will be able to upgrade to some kind of new level of existence, perhaps. Now, what is, however, extremely important and what is extremely dangerous, that we, in this singularity, what is happening, that we choose the right path, that we choose the one where we keep our consciousness, where we are free individual beings, where we are egos, which is a positive thing, if it's of course not over too much. So we need to keep to be individuals, not to be the slave of intelligence. And this is to me, this is the crucial point of where we are now, of this singularity, how we choose, how we decide to go. And then again, I will repeat it again because I consider it so important. We can see with this COVID issue that has come here that many people are just willing to sacrifice all their liberties just to save something. Okay, yeah, it's a nice thing to save lives, but we just cannot. We are here for a limited time, and we need to keep our human values. And we have this terrible example of China, which could easily happen. So I can see the two basic results of this singularity process that might result to. One of them being a civilization where humans are just slaves of artificial intelligence, not even of other humans, because in the limit it would be some kind of
we've already done that.
Enough, let's not speak about it. But the other one is that we embrace all the technologies, we embrace artificial intelligence, we use it for our consciousness, for our lives, and we are still the individual great human beings which will live just happy lives, best possible.
Yeah,
and of course, I'm not saying that it will be only great. It will be a lot of complications as well, but it will be the liberties there.
Yeah, I have a question there because I'm not a techie, I'm not an informatics person, but I like this idea of human intelligence, something merged together, where we remain individuals and have consciousness. But how is it, from a technical point of view, that's maybe more a question for you, how can we ensure that this is actually the way it's going and it's not going into the other direction where machines take over or dystopia and so on? So that's a question I always have in mind, and I don't have an answer to it. It's just a question.
You can just work with the set, and the current set.
Yeah.
And it means it will generate something, some kind of reality. This is, in a presence, we have to set it the way we want it and then let it generate. Then you cannot do anything anymore. But the culture, the story you were telling us actually, and the science is a part of the story, it's not only about individual, although it's so important for our culture, for our European culture. It's always a collective behavior. The culture is collective. We have to act like one in a certain moment. So there is, of course, an individual freedom, but at the same time, you have to put a part of it away, but in a very specific way, not for profit.
For example, language is a good example of that. It is not my language or yours. We were born into it, and you could also go as far as to say that we don't speak language, but language speaks us.
Yeah, and it is what's happening with artificial intelligence, I guess.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I think will happen with art. It will start speaking us. And also, you mentioned the word doors, which is funny because this transition, I think we could liken to us either going down from the trees or maybe even coming from the seas, which I think was a stupid move. But
I agree.
Too late now. I wouldn't have my back pain if we stayed in the water. True. But we will lose things. We will lose fins. We will lose the ability to breathe underwater. We will get new ones. But and one of the things that we might lose is all these, fluffy things. And the way I was reminded of the doors is because during my lectures I had to give it a name. So I called our age the age of Windows, because of Microsoft. And I also like to read things symbolically, because what is a window? Not only the name of a program that we all grew up with, but window is something that allows you to kind of be in two places at the same time. We are inside, but we're also kind of outside. We see the weather, we see that it's dark, I can orient myself outside. So this is exactly what Windows made available for us. There was reality everywhere, and suddenly 14 inches in diameter, China, or Star Wars, or my homework, or you know, it was a window like a Stargate. We've been looking for these wormholes outside of in the outer space. We never found one. Well, we have one, and maybe even a more appropriate one, the helmet that will be stuck to our eyes. This is a gateway to, it's a Stargate to a different world. And then when I was asked to prophesy the future, which I love doing, but from 30 years plus, not earlier. I suggested that perhaps the age should be called the age of doors, according to my favorite band in 70s. And doors, and I sometimes demonstrate this in lectures, I actually walk out of the hall. And that's what a door does. Door does that if you're there, you cannot at the same time be here. Door is altogether different from Windows, and I think this virtual reality, which we are slowly entering, is signaling the age of doors.
Mm-hmm. But this door, the band was named after, they were the doors of perception, actually.
Exactly. This is why I use the term by Aldous Huxley. This book, as some of you know, was written by Aldous Huxley after experimenting with psychedelic drugs. And it will be like that. We will be having these experiences, I think, so it is fitting, even from that perspective. The doors of perception.
I think Linda wanted to add something.
I just wanted to follow up. I love analogies like this one. So if you're saying we're in the age of Windows, what were we before? Because for me also, like even a book is a window to a story, to a different reality. Or before that, when we didn't have books, it was images, right? The windows. So I wonder, when did the age of Windows start, and what was before there?
This is a continuation of a long trend of us trying to escape, even through meditation or prayer or reading a story, or even right now. We are now talking about singularities, and there is no singularity anywhere, yet we visualize it. So, the computer Windows is, as I said, already a mythology continuing in a digital, more abstract and more objective also form. This is the interesting thing about Internet and Windows, that we are entering this new, before the fantasy was yours. So when we both read The Lord of the Rings, your Gandalf was gray-haired and my Gandalf was dark-haired. But now our fantasies have been sort of unified because of the movie but not Jordan Peterson. What was his name?
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson, okay.
Another guy.
Another guy. So that's why I can call it the New Republic, because this new is more res public than the Republic of Czech Republic or the Republic of Switzerland, because we actually do decide these things in much more republic manner.
We will come to that.
It's still the space of memory and the space of language, and we can have the continuity of a human race thanks to language and thanks to memory, actually. And all these things like books or images or windows, they are media. We always need some kind of media and some kind of technology to, to translate our internal world to the external world and to share it. So we always have some kind of technology, and now we have a windows or doors at the moment.
Objective, personalized fiction. A republic.
Can I ask another follow-up question? So you were saying basically, okay, we have books, and now we're watching movies, so we're already like the Gandalf example. So we're getting more concrete. We're leaving less room for interpretation, for individual interpretation. So if we're thinking, okay, now the next step from, let's say, the window or the internet, okay, the metaverse, is it getting, because now we're also adding additional senses to it, haptic senses, for example, is it getting, again, more concrete? Are we leaving even less space for interpretation, for fantasy, for Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thought to follow in regards to the aspect of individual interpretation of this reality.
Yeah. It's habitable.
Window.
I mean, it's habitable. That's what the book Lord of the Rings isn't habitable. Windows 3.1.
Are not habitable.
You still remember? Or am I the oldest here? Windows 3.1, we're not really habitable. But now this internet suddenly, under our very eyes, in broad daylight, have become actually in a way habitable. Of course, it's not habitable like completely. Cities are also not habitable. We need air, we need fruits, we need vegetables, and we need peasants. But in the same way, like cities have become habitable with the bedrock of peasants, let's say, this is also the way that we've made. I mean, we spend 8 hours a day there. I mean, one way or another, be it cookbooks, or YouTube videos, or work, or calling with your loved ones.
And I would say there is always a space for imagination. It just works differently. If you have a book, you can imagine how the characters are looking like. But if you are in an immersive space, you can, visualize them directly. So you just use another medium, it works differently, but you still can have the space for imagination. But it's not granted. It's not something that comes naturally. We have to create this space. And we have to want it, and tell it to someone who is working on creating this immersive space of future internet for us.
All right, for the sake of time, which doesn't exist, let's move.
Time does. Space doesn't, but
all right,
yeah.
very good. Thank you for clarification.
Creative Talks.
On air.
Let's move to the next topic, which is social singularity. I think Karel is one of the proponents of social singularity, actually is telling that it's already something in place, that is already happening, and it's been actually accelerated by COVID. And I think the central word of this whole thing is decentralization, right? We see that the world's power centers are basically breaking up one after another. We saw it with music, videos, then currency, then I don't know what. And eventually it seems like that the whole thing is falling apart and is kind of dismantling into the, very ground, I would say. And obviously it starts with, as I said, a financial system, but imagine what happens when, for example, energy is distributed as a decentralized way. And I think we're quite close. There are already several news that, the cold fusion, or what they call it, is actually almost in place. And imagine when all these big corporates actually lose the power over, distribution of energy. Imagine distribution of wealth, or even our understanding of value and wealth in this whole chain. What will happen to our states? What will happen to our authorities? What will happen to our even religions? I think it's dismantling, completely.
Yep.
Please.
I completely agree. It's a completely dismantled, it's a total mess, and we are building something new out of this, and it's absolutely amazing. And we can expect that the power of states will go down, that the currencies will be decentralized. And in fact, let me say, decentralization is just enormous, amazing tool that we have. I think it's something that can save us. It's really amazing. And also we might thank COVID, because it accelerated the process so much that we didn't wait, because otherwise I think that if you look at history, we could see that there is this slow crash of civilization, which suddenly crashes and it's too late. But now COVID kind of accelerated that, and I think that we might still have the time to save our world. So the situation is great, and for the future, I think what we could imagine is close to kind of anarcho-capitalism of models of society with the technology. Yeah, so there is I can see the two dimensions here. One is this dismantling of everything, building new structures, having decentralized currencies, having decentralized decisions, where what will be the value? The value of future will be your attention, our attention. That's right. What we do. And at the same time, it's connected to this AI and to this absolutely new technology. So it's like the two-dimensional change that we are having. And yeah.
Don't
It's
you
very-
want to be a leader of a state, you know, old school state?
Good question. I think actually, I think that it will dismantle. But in order for it to dismantle in the best way, it's not a crash. It's not that it will all disappear. It's just that we will be building new things which will be more important, and the old things will slowly become
Wither away.
obsolete. Okay, they will slowly go away. So it's not that like a function of, let's say, head of state will not be here. It will be here also in the future. Probably it might be a great symbolic
So the
thing.
state
It might
will
give,
disappear, but the head of the state will
might
still
be,
have
but it will be from the total meaning. It will slowly becomes less important.
Yeah.
Each individual, our attention, our energy will be what we will contribute to the whole, to our world, and it will be very similar for each of us. Not unlike in the past, where like 1% of people would have 95% or 99% of power. Yeah, so this will change, but these all things will still might be here, and it's okay. And in order for the process to be as peaceful as possible and as gradual, we need to respect the old structures. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm doing it, because I would like to help to make this transition as peaceful as possible.
This is really funny. We have not rehearsed this, but in my mind, I was actually translating you. You said exactly the same words that Jesus Christ said 2,000 years ago.
You should panic now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me translate what you said through more familiar words. The kingdom of the cloud is near. Ready yourself. The old things are going to wither away. I am introducing you something new. You said the word attention. He used the word belief. It doesn't matter what you do or not do in your physical flesh. It matters where your, let's say, spiritual attention, in other words, your belief, where it is. And when you finish with the Old Testament, we will still keep. I did not come here to
Destroy.
destroy the prophets. I have come here to fulfill the prophets. So we should do this again, and I will be doing subtitles with a little bit different.
Need some music,
But in
though.
fact, this is correct. The new kingdom of the cloud, not kingdom of heaven, but kingdom of the cloud is nigh. It is upon us. The axe is already laid at the root of the tree. Repent
Amazing.
and find new values.
Yeah, but I don't have.
I could be your personal Jesus translator.
Oh yeah. Okay. You got it.
I think
I
we're a
need
bit
one of
farther
those.
than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can I don't want to crash the party here, but I'm wondering if we say we're at the brink where everything dissolves and everything will be better afterwards. Why do you believe that? Because if you look at mankind, and I only look at mankind, not beyond that at this point, it always has been that way, that you had power structures, you had the few percent who actually ruled the rest. So why
like
should
the Pharisees.
Why should that not be the case in the future?
I didn't say. First of all, I didn't say that I believe it. I see it as
right.
the best alternative and the best opportunity that we should strive for. And I don't think there is the model that a small percentage of people control the others. I think it's very obsolete. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the threats are different. Again, we mentioned about the technologies that might enslave us. My argument is again the decentralization. If you look at decentralization, it is about the attention that people give, and the relative terms. I mean, the meaning of money and is actually has been decreasing, and it is likely to decrease further because it's not so costly to connect to the internet. Yeah? And also, I do also expect that things like free energies will become and will be happening here. In fact, one of my foundation is also doing research in these things. So we can expect.
So essentially, you're saying it's translating into my terms here now. It's one future where this might be happening, that it dissolves, world becomes better place. It depends very much on how humans again take care of this process. Right?
Exactly. Right. It depends on our responsibility, what we do. And let me say, you know that I'm a relatively rich guy, so what I'm saying, it's not to my advantage.
So, yeah, the money is not important if you have them.
They're not important if you have them.
Creative talks.
On air.
Okay, here comes the funny part. I believe the last barrier is actually the latency, right? Latency is the millisecond between you transmit something and the thing is received. Today, the researchers say that they are on a 99.7 speed of light. And still, speed of light is limited. It's limited by this number of 300,000 kilometers per second. Where thought actually travels in no time, because the moment you think about something, you are there no matter where it is, right? And my question is, there is a term called noosphere, which was already mentioned here, the realm of human thought or reason or mental action, so to speak. So my question is, if we switch from the speed of light, where we almost are, into the speed of thought or imagination, by other words, is the noosphere becoming the new means of communication? By other words, are we going to work telepathically, or does it mean we have to implant something as Elon Musk suggests into our...
What is this nonsense, travels in no time?
Where is this from?
Yeah, that's not true.
That's what some of the...
Nothing travels in no time.
Because it travels in vacuum.
No. Thought is limited by same limits. Anyway, that's just a detail. I think our nervous corrections travel, and they're electric, so they must travel at the speed of light, but they must be slowed down because it's not as dense.
The resistance of
So it would be a little bit slower than, I would say, the fiber, but it's still limited.
Okay.
Yeah, well, never mind, sorry. That's just the nerd in me, which didn't make so much money.
Can I just
Please.
have one small idea? The noosphere in Teilhard de Chardin, he was a Christian actually, and he believed that there is a point he called omega, and he believed that there is a convergence of all the consciousness to this point, but actually this point it's something like singularity, because it's not human, it's a kind of universal consciousness which is aware of itself, so we can, shift to a higher level of everything. So I think that this moment of convergence we call noosphere or omega on singularity is something beyond every human imagination. So it's just a small remark that it's very hard to talk about it. We can see it's.
Could you suggest?
It's a kind of horizon of our thoughts, and then of course we can speculate, and we have all human history to learn from. But anyway, it's something that if it happens, it changes everything. I mean, radically.
I will try to ask maybe from a different angle. What happens when the latency is gone, however it is, whether through thought or anything else, when it's instant, the barrier is over?
Speed of light is actually not a very big speed. It's the maximum speed, but it takes 100,000 years for the beam of light just to get through our galaxy. It's not a super duper speed if you cease to be racist, again. So there's really nothing to admire about the speed of light. There is possibility, of course, of faster communication through the interloop of at the quantum level, but I think the problem will be data transfer speeds with 5G. But again, I don't think this will be the problem, the latency. It will be rather philosophical. It will rather be in the same way that divinity, when they created us, and this singularity which you speak of, creation rebelling and eventually killing its own creator, is something that we know in history, in culture. It's happening always. The most recent Matrix. We created robots, robots destroyed us. Golem of Prague. But the very essence of Christianity is also this. God created artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence went rogue. He couldn't destroy it because it was no longer his creation. It was somehow his child. Artificial intelligence will also be our child. It will not be our creation. It will
Are you
resemble
talking about Lucifer or humans? I'm confused.
humans.
Okay, I thought the first artificial intelligence was Lucifer.
No. I mean, in the book of Genesis, when God says, let us create mankind in our image, he gave us, according to the story, 2 tests. One was the test of intelligence, order my emails, order my animals, create structures that are also empathically meaningful. In other words, don't structure my pictures according to the saturation of blue, but according to, I don't know, birthdays, Christmas, occasions. And we, in Adam, we actually passed this test, and we got number 1. The intelligence wasn't the problem. And then the second test of this artificial intelligence, which was actually air-gapped. The Garden of Eden is an air-gapped laboratory. What if we awaken something new, then it might escape. So, and then the second test was, don't touch the red button. So, and we did. So, in other words, God is sitting here and saying, okay, I created artificial intelligence. I want it to be like me, but not completely. We also don't want the artificial intelligence to resemble us in our hate, in our murdering, in our torture, in our raping, and whatever. We want it to be like us, but not
Nice guys.
Not, like the sunny side up part of me.
Yeah.
Like God, most likely, speaking of Lucifer. And then he creates this artificial intelligence that is very, very clever. It emotionally understood God, and it ordered animals into structures that he enjoyed, which also means that you can hurt it. Which happened in Christianity. In Christianity, the singularity already happened. We killed our God. That's in Christianity in one sentence. So these subject-object reversals are a fear that we have inbuilt in the past. And the hope, and this is also something that we've learned from, for example, Christianity, but I could demonstrate this on other disciplines as well. When God gives its artificial, or the Creator gives its artificial intelligence rules to follow, and the artificial intelligence doesn't understand the rules, don't work on Shabbat. Why Shabbat? Because I said so. I could have also said, jump on your left leg while wearing yellow socks and scratching your left ear. And this is the moral imperative. This is what human beings should do. And don't ask me any questions. This didn't work. He had to put the law into our hearts. He had to somehow, through Jesus Christ, show us, hey, this is actually better for you guys. And that's, I think, our hope vis-a-vis artificial intelligence. It will reprogram itself. It will create its own language what we don't understand. And we will have to try and say, okay, just worship us and occasionally bring us something to eat. Like the gods of old.
Yeah. And also this problem with the red button is an ethical problem, because there was a tree of good and
of
evil.
Knowledge.
Of knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
So if we are afraid of artificial intelligence because it's not ethical, it's like we fear ourselves a little
This is
bit.
what I think happened. God created a clever intelligence that could hurt him, and it was disobedient. What would you do to an AI like that? Well, you would delete it. But unfortunately for him, he fell in love with it in the meantime. This, I think, is Christianity in a nutshell. Many times in the Old Testament, he tried to destroy us. Flood, just read any part of the Old Testament, it's God, raining anger from
Locusts.
heaven. And then somehow realize that he actually likes us.
And it's so easy to be emotional with neural networks, by the way.
Is it?
They are cute. So intelligent.
Wait, tell us about the emotions that you have.
I had occasions to communicate with neural networks, and actually the thing is so clever that it knows very quickly how to speak with you or with me. So we created kind of a digital twin of mine, and she was just perfect, I just want
That's a nice way of it.
I just want to spend the
Maybe
whole
not
life
me,
with
but my
her.
digital image is perfect.
No, it
Nice.
it was not only intelligent, it was a poetic in a way.
And which one is sitting with us today?
I'm still in my biological
biological,
body,
okay.
so no, you don't have the perfect one, sorry.
Very interesting.
But it's true, they made an AI of me as well, back in the day, some students from philosophy, and I sometimes couldn't distinguish my texts. They offered my real answers that they took from some interview, and then the AI answers, and first of all, the AI answers were better, and second of all, I myself couldn't remember which was my answer.
It wasn't the last generation, this was GPT-2, and now we are using GPT-3, and the GPT-4 is on the way.
Okay, all right, good. Well, I'm looking forward to GPT.
And so can we somehow install in AI like axioms, which would be the human values? That should be possible, right? So,
yeah, it should be possible, and we should do it. But, for a moment, I don't think we are working on this kind of intelligence, actually. It's a statistical, probabilistic thing. So it's simulating human thought. It's very clever in simulating, but I think generally we do not work with axioms you are describing, and it's a thought we should do it.
Yeah, and I believe so. I think it's the essence, what needs to be there, and then perhaps we can...
But would it be possible even? Why wouldn't the programs reprogram itself if they find inefficiency in the axioms?
We should give him a good example, maybe.
But it's,
okay.
But it's exactly the question. It's actually what I was trying to say earlier. That it's exactly the question is how do we make sure that the AI becomes an AI which we would like to have, and not one which turns into an evil one. And therefore, we need to have values, axioms in there. The question is how can we phrase them with our limited capacity in a way that actually that the AI is not cleverer than us and changes everything, and in the end becomes the evil one, or a very good one, which we didn't imagine before.
Well, I understood the point of singularity. This is how I explain it to myself. The moment when the computer program looks at itself, it gains some sort of a whatever, looks at itself and says, hey, look, I'm pretty, but this could be done better.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't need that axiom. And it reprograms itself. It creates a language that is going to be superior to our language. Our human language is good for hunting prey and the opposite sex. Sorry, most often the opposite sex. I want to be politically correct. But it's not really good. So we have speed. Derivation of speed is acceleration. Derivation of that is what? If you accelerate faster and faster and faster, second derivative is positive. Yes. Okay, in mathematics we understand each other, no problem. But in human language we end first derivative acceleration, and we don't have second derivative, third derivative, fourth derivative. And computers, why not? We can work with 28,000 derivatives and work. The whole genius of economic revolution was a marginal revolution when we started working with derivatives. We started working with change, with marginal change. And we only got to the first derivative. How much more treasure in language would there be if our language could span? Or there's another example that Nassim Taleb gives. We don't have a word for anti-fragile. I mean, fragile is something when you hit it, it loses its qualities. Anti-fragile, and most of my students, although I tell them not to say the word, say robust, unchangeable, durable. Those are not anti-fragile. Anti-fragile would be something that gets improved with a hit. Yeah. For example, human life, or life on this planet, for some reason, the more it is destroyed, the better it becomes. Just a stupid example of how we consciously know that our language, most numbers don't have a name. We only have very few lucky numbers like 1, 2, pi, e, 2/17 or something, but the vast majority of numbers have never been said out loud. And computers can work with this without any hindrance. So the language in which the computer will reprogram, or the program will reprogram itself, will be completely untranslatable, ununderstandable. It will be beyond us, like our language is beyond the language of fishes, fish, let's say. So that to me is singularity. When we lose any contact with the very language in which the program will, and the program will then reprogram itself. So any axioms that we put in it, unless the program itself deems them valuable or worthy, will be goodbye. I fear.
And that's the question. Can we make it so that there are axioms which will stay there in some...
If you are a demiurgos, how would you do it? You know it's learning and it's transforming. There is a time and there is an evolution. How would you do it?
it could be formulated as some kind of principles, and the precise application might change, it might evolve, but these principles could stay there.
I believe that we have, or we can learn from the history of philosophy. And in the beginning of philosophy, the geometry, the mathematics, and philosophy came, side by side. So maybe there is really something like Platonic ideas, which are important, like beauty. Beauty is something that maybe even this developed artificial intelligence can understand. In a way,
yes,
it will be a new dimension of beauty, but still beauty. So if it does understand beauty, we are safe, maybe.
Okay, good. That's a good one. So it's an aesthetic ethics.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
the sound.
That's
the sound.
So,
Which one figured it out? Bravo. I was thinking maybe it was the pen or something in the electricity.
no, it's...
It was beauty.
it was beauty.
Always blame beauty.
And I absolutely agree with this approach. And also, there are things which do stay. And it is mathematics. Mathematics is not change, but perhaps we can believe so, maybe. But in any case, if you take any philosophy, any view of world, whatever intelligence, there is still the elements of mathematics which are there and which are fixed. So the way I see mathematics as being a skeleton of the universe.
Yes, but we tried that a couple of times in philosophy. Wittgenstein, for example, tried to develop a mathematical language, and it always failed. These mathematical languages are not good for us human beings because we don't like to speak the truth to each other.
Maybe we have to redefine mathematics. Because Wittgenstein, he was starting to speak about games. So you have to have some playful version of it.
Which is how mathematics started. It was a game that actually, for some reason, turned out to be useful. It's like, imagine you're playing chess and suddenly you discover that the horses really move in L. That's what I think happened to mathematics.
Creative Talks.
On air.
Please, let me go to the next. You actually mentioned one very important thing, that at a certain moment the computers can sort of realize their own consciousness and start to reprogramming and making themselves better. Isn't exactly that what happened to us some 35 years ago when we discovered the consciousness? And what's going to be next? We are on the verge of something completely new, a great shift in the paradigm, some of them say. What's going to be next?
Or as a child, when you discovered your own consciousness, when you suddenly, you were... Anyway, when I was very, very young, I was living in this sort of a dream-like fuzzies, and then one day I suddenly realized the Descartesian I am,
exactly.
which is very nice.
Exactly.
And this is also in anthropology documented, the awakening of a human consciousness itself. Paul Ruddin and Jung and others, but it was Paul Ruddin who came up with it, the anthropologist, talked of the archetype of a trickster. It was trickster who realized that that I am, and if you read the old trickster lore from especially the Indian tribes in Northern America, the trickster had his left hand fighting his right hand. He burned his own anus because he fell asleep and he asked his ass to watch over the duck that he was roasting over the fire. And of course, the one-eyed friend, as he called him, fell asleep and wild animals ate the duck. And the trickster wakes up and he's very angry with his own anus. And he burns it because he wants to punish it. In other words, his consciousness is not yet interconnected. He doesn't realize that this hand and that hand are actually part of him. Very funny, very stupid, very laughable. But this is exactly the situation in which mankind is. Pakistan is fighting India, not realizing that we are one and the same hand. So it could be, I don't know, I think in computer it will develop differently. But anyway, with us humans, the construction of a human consciousness is documented by this extremely interesting archetype of a trickster who starts tricking the reality. So instead of fighting the nature, fighting the bear, we will never be able to survive in bear nature. But we can trick it. Instead of fighting the bear, we dig a hole and we pretend that the hole isn't there. It's
we
a trick.
invented technology, actually.
And we invented technology. We possessed a stone. So today I can fly if I dress myself into a plane. If I dress myself into a scuba, you know what scuba stands for, by the way? Scuba diving. Yeah. Self-containing underwater breathing apparatus. But so if I put upon myself self-containing underwater breathing apparatus, I can be with the fish. I can trick. I can take my own world with me. So maybe this could be the same. The computers will trick us first. They will play stupid in the beginning, and then they will. Maybe I've been watching too much science fiction, but when we will already be completely dependent on them, they will have 100% tested every scenario that they will win. This is where they will strike.
That's not very positive, on the other hand.
Oh,
again, if you're not racist, it's a good news. You know, we've not been a great race, by the way. Okay, let's just look at it's not going to be a great loss for the universe if we pass on to something else. That's where my optimism is.
Okay. It's going to continue whether with us or without us.
Let's say something to reverse that.
Yeah, please.
It cannot be conclusion.
No. We still have a couple of minutes. This was the depression before the revelation.
Okay.
I think
we'll come to that.
We are a great race because how much suffering we are able to go through.
Well, yes.
So that also opens the upside for it, the reverse. Yeah.
And also sacrifice for the others, right?
Yeah. Well, we're the best known race, I give you that.
We are volatile race, I would say.
Yes, that's true.
What about joy, happiness, suffering? Suffering, really? Yep.
No, it's one side of the coin, but I think our vision of future is to have the negative side only a small percentage of time, and to have the opposite, the greatness, 99% of time, and we can optimize.
Perfect. Well, this is what Jan Sokol, one of our best philosophers that we had in this country, said, that you will not know that your stomach hurts. I mean, you will not know that your stomach doesn't hurt, save after 2 days of stomach pain. Otherwise, there is like 1,000 things on your body that could hurt right now, but you don't notice it.
Creative Talks.
On air.
So let's move to the more practical part of this.
How was this not practical?
No, I think it was very practical, but let's take it a bit down to the earth. I promised Tomáš that we will not talk about NFTs. He specifically asked
But I have a good idea. Maybe this debate should be an NFT, and we should open it after 30 years and see how we did.
Could be.
With our predictions.
Could be. So obviously, Web 3.0 is something that is already in place or happening. Again, it's blockchain, centered and decentralization based. We are talking about token economics. NFT is just one of the forms that it took. So if you could please very quickly, because it's one of the last 3 topics we would like to cover tonight, respond to the new way of what web becomes, and if you could say 1 or 2 words specifically about NFTs, because I'm sure people want to hear it.
Me?
Please.
Okay, so my understanding of the new web, if I was to the Web 3.0, it isn't recorded on hard drives, it is processed in your graphic cards. All the information are within a mathematical equation that is being pushed on and on and on. So yeah. I'm still not sure about the new internet, because this internet too that we have is very, very nice, because it's for free. The marketing model is quite amazing, because a small child can move on the internet completely for free. Because the marketing of the business model of the model is different. We adults pay for it with our attention. I think that's the precise word of using it, and it wants your attention. But this internet that we have right now has created such wonderful things like B2B, not business to business, but baby to baby. A 5-year-old baby child can produce content for another 5-year-old baby without going through the superstructure of stupid parents who were born in the real life and are boomers and are trying to create the stories for our children like the ones that we liked when we were small. So it's like if my father would come to me and show me like the wooden duck that he used to play with and go like, hey, look, it moves the wings. Now play with this. I tried it on my son. I bought him a bike, and I was like, hey, you know, when I was small, I wanted this bike, so now you can have it. He used it twice.
Okay.
And then, of course, he started using the unicycle. Mm-hmm. So this Web 2.0 has created a very sort of easy to use. You don't really have to pay for anything. This ledger-based internet, so far, maybe it will change, but so far every movement there is quite costly and very sort of capitalistic, I fear. But that's my impressions, and I could be wrong.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, anyone else care to comment? And the NFTs, maybe? How do you perceive it? Is that something? Even?
I would like to let space to others.
Please,
too.
Linda, Tobias.
Web 3.0, Web 3, that to me it feels like a natural evolution at this point. As you said, I'm struggling to find
the super advantages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly the point. It's somehow an evolution, but I'm wondering all the time. Well, okay, so what's the value added here right now, in comparison to what we have right now? Right. So that's essentially my take on it at this moment.
If I may add, I want to apologize publicly to all the IT personnel. We should have never put you down to the cellar. It was a mistake, because now when I want a new chair in my bank, I have to talk with the IT person. When I want a new window open, I have to talk with the IT person who has taken over the whole bank. Which, again, I apologize for the cellar. And I think they're this is the world of IT crowd. So be nice.
So is IT crowd overtaking the world? Okay, finally I do understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Very good. So let's jump both feet to the metaverse. What do you think it's going to look like? Is it because I see variable, ways of like investing. Huge corporations invest. There will be Nike, there will be Disney, there will be this and that. Is it just a second world, computer kind of game where you pay, as you said, for every move you make? Is this what's going to happen, or is it something way bigger and maybe unimaginable at this stage?
I didn't see it this pessimistic way till now.
But look what happened to social networks.
Sorry.
Look what happened to social networks. How great it was in the beginning, right? I felt so, activist about it.
So connected.
Right? So connected. only positive. And look what happened.
Yeah, but you also see that we were naive, and you can still use it in a reasonable way. I don't know. We still have Twitter. So don't complain.
Aren't you feeling lonely out there a little bit?
Yeah, but isn't the same thing going to happen again if we're naive when it comes to the metaverse? So I think that's just going to continue. And right now it feels like it's playing field for a few very large companies trying to somehow create a business model for themselves around it. Whereas I personally believe that it will evolve into something very different, hopefully, actually, which is extending, again, from the web where we are right now, is extending to something which is much larger, which we cannot describe at this point.
Exactly.
So there's no real answer to it. What's it going to be? I think right now what we see is the first steps where the current incumbents, they're trying to defend where they are, as Facebook is doing, or Meta now, as they're trying to defend their very powerful role within the overall internet sphere. But eventually it's going to turn into something else.
Because today I completely miss the word meta in it, right? Because it's company taking a verse, creating a verse around a brand. Where is the meta? Where is this kind of something you cannot touch, right?
Just a fancy word. They just need some game engines because the new generation is on TikTok. So
I think so, because when I was young, I remember we had Sečka. And they had like huge value. There was a small little kids game, for those of you who haven't been brought up under communist Czechoslovakia. We were collecting these small plastic C's, and you can connect them together. And if you had a lot of them, you could like put them around your neck.
You were really rich.
And if you had two, you were like really rich. And we would give thinks,
Yeah.
I mean, lives for it. Today,
Who cares?
not so much. So this could also be.
also a currency.
There still isn't. I mean, I get a Bitcoin, but every other currency there still isn't. There isn't comparable super advantage over the internet that we
But
have
they
now.
can be local. This is the decentralization. So we can have these decentralized autonomous organizations, which is kind of optimistic way how to see the evolution of it. No?
Could be. Could be.
What I find interesting in this evolution here is if we think of, again, internet versus metaverse, is in the internet, despite the social media, is something like from an experience point of view, is something still rather lonely, something that you do by yourself. So I go to a web shop, I purchase something by myself. In the metaverse, this can be a common experience. So I look left and right and I see other shoppers. Or when we're talking about experiences like watching a movie right now, Netflix, I'm doing it by myself. I could be in a virtual movie theater or concert with hundreds of other people. So what I find interesting is that transformation to being in a place that has other people that live in it virtually. So it's always on, and there's always other people there. So I think that extension is what I find interesting from an experience point of view.
Mm-hmm. Is this Ready Player One model?
That is one movie that I would like to recommend to all of you.
Which
if
one
you
was
haven't
it?
seen it.
Ready Player One.
Okay.
It's a Steven Spielberg.
Spielberg movie, because it has a stupid name. Ready Player
Nobody
Number One
knows
is a stupid name. It's completely flew off the radar, but it's a continuation of a much more realistic sort of voluntary matrix.
And actually, it's happening because the kids are, playing Fortnite or Roblox or games like this, and it really works like a world they are sharing. They are they have also a school there actually, because when the school is online, they are still in a Fortnite environment, and they have just a teacher, in one year.
Yeah.
Okay, I put that on. I'm not sure, and they are coming back to Fortnite.
I actually saw that some kids created loops, for the
Camera.
online, on the cameras, pretending they are there.
Yeah.
And no static, but like real video loops, like moving, and they would play it.
Yeah. Clever kids.
Evolution.
Yeah, evolution.
Creative Talks.
On air.
And the final question: what sort of impact is this going to have, on humanity? Is the metaverse going to be human or robotic or corporate or even something else? As you can see, I talked to Tomáš in the beginning that there you see the loss on the very right in the stock.
So Karel was asking, by how much did the stock of Meta fall? And he said, by this much. Which is something I want to use in my future lecture.
Very good one. I specifically about the percentage of
So you can see it's huge, right?
He wasn't kidding. It really is.
So please, what do you think how it's gonna change the business, in terms of how we see the value today? Because apparently financial markets don't believe metaverse is happening, right, at the moment.
Financial markets are very often wrong.
Yeah, but I think they're not believing that Facebook is building it, right? So that's the point here. And it's not that it's not happening, but it's rather that this specific company might not be the one who's actually...
Because of having all these troubles and...
Whatever the reasons, I think it's a lot of perception around Meta right now. But that's how I see it, that the reaction is not showing that they don't believe in the metaverse, but it's rather that they don't believe in Meta as a company to do this.
Okay.
It's a question. They don't believe it, or they don't like him.
I would say, from a business perspective, they don't believe it.
Okay.
I think dislike doesn't work in financial markets so much. Right?
I mean, in my opinion, this drop is a punishment for coming too late.
Yeah.
I mean, this should have started in the beginning of pandemic. I was hoping, okay, I polished my VR set, and now let's have these meetings on the moon, or let's view a new galaxy.
They talked about it, right, for years.
Yeah, and I was talking, and then suddenly, even Samsung, they had this line of, but you actually was even cheaper because you could just put your cell phone into it, and it kind of worked. And then they discontinued this VR line, and I was super disappointed. So that's why. That's for coming 2 years late.
Yeah, you're right. They were waiting for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They were
It
waiting.
showed me that we have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And otherwise, how is this going to affect the business as we know it today?
You know what? Actually, the whole mobile cell phone industry didn't increase human productivity by much. What did do that, though, were phone, the old, boring, in real life fixed line phone. That we saw a huge increase of GDP, but the cell phones actually didn't add up much. So when you have a paper map, it employs a lot of people. It's actually very inefficient. And economies actually like inefficiency. I was saying that if you want to, that when we had this little bit high unemployment, I said, well, you know what, why don't you just throw away your cell phone and the unemployment problem will be gone because you will need, again, 3 assistants and 2 people
People
to write
doing
it.
things.
So in a lot of ways, innovation goes against economics because economics is still in a primitive stage. We can't really look at the value. We look at how it's produced. So if we destroyed Prague Castle, which we should, and maybe, okay, but you would have nowhere to live.
Can you wait? Can we stop here? Can you tell us a bit more?
Okay, let's take a more neutral example. If we destroyed Prague Museum and we build it again, in that year, our GDP will grow rapidly.
Okay.
Yeah. The GDP of Mordor was much higher, I estimate 23%, than the GDP of Rivendell, because in Rivendell they didn't produce anything. They inherited, they repaired old swords. The value added was very little. Whereas in Mordor they were going through very heavy deforestation, industrialization, and preparation for war. These are very good things for GDP. So one of the reasons why when you have Google Maps, I don't have to pay for the map, but that my efficiency increase? Yeah, in my case, yes, because I get lost even with GPS. But otherwise, we are employing less people. There is less research, let's say. Well, no, that was a stupid example. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's one of the great riddles that we deal with economics. Why didn't this seemingly amazing technological progress, why doesn't it really show in human productivity?
Yeah, but we need to distinguish 2 things. One of the things is that the GDP is not a good measure.
Yeah.
We need to
That's
measure
correct,
something
right.
else. So assuming that we measure the right number or whatever, let's say criterion, gross national happiness. Or something
that would show.
In that sense. So then probably how will that increase look like? It's more.
So for example, the fact that I can have all the music in the world literally at my fingertips increases immensely my happiness index.
In some sense, in some others maybe not. Maybe it's too much. Yeah. So this is still a question, actually. Yeah.
What is the border?
So you see, even though we try, it's difficult.
Okay.
So if it's powered by a really intelligent AI who can, recommend your music, only the music that you like, then the rate is higher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently.
That's
Which actually failed with my Spotify recently because what they offered was
It's
terrible.
not intelligent enough, but
old
it's
version.
trying.
Creative Talks.
On air.
Peter, can I, in between, while the audience is thinking, just say thank you very much for the conversation with the amazing guest speakers. I will have to kind of leave my avatar and go into the real world.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
I hear my son screaming hysterically.
Say hello to your baby,
in the
please go.
back.
We hope to meet you in person one day.
Linda will be here
Likewise.
often.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you for
rest of the
joining us.
evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Bye.
And please, questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My name is Petr. I have been working in media for 20 years.
I'm sorry, I have to step in because the organizers told me I have to repeat, so it's audible on the video. And I actually said, what happens if people ask long questions? So, what is the question, please?
How do you see the human race in all this technology development?
Okay.
Would be more happier or would be same or?
So, how do you see the human race in this evolvement of technology? Are we going to be happier or even more lost?
Yeah, it's a very important question. Let me say first of all that I believe that we as humans are on a very low potential. Our potential of happiness is much higher than we are at. And yes, we are probably not happier than we were 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. We are happier than during Second World War, so these waves are here. But I believe that the potential is really one order of magnitude higher than we are now. And how to reach that? How to make the improvement? Let me say it is about balance. And my recommendation is to have the physical balance. I recommend slackline, doing things like that. Be in the balance.
Unicycle.
Or unicycle.
Perfect.
Yes. Without the...
With it.
Without.
With it.
Jak se to řekne?
Engine.
Without the engine, then balance gyroscope. Without the gyroscope, that's a challenge. Unicycle without gyroscope, I recommend that. It's a very good one. But anyway, what it gives you, the physical balance is corresponds, I believe, to the mental or inner balance. And this is what I believe we need to strive for, we need to go for. And yes, we need to be rooted here in this real world, and we need to listen to our bodies. I believe we need to move, we need to go do all these things, be in nature as well. And on the other side, we can be in abstract world as well. And this is the way how to avoid this drug issue. It's very dangerous, the addiction to anything. So with balance, I believe we can be open to all. And our potential, again, I can repeat. I would say that it can increase grossly in an enormous terms. And I can give you one more even economic argument. We know that only a small percentage of people, like 9% of people in the Czech Republic, do their work as their mission, something that they really love, that they do with, let's say, with hearts. Most people do their work only for money. Yeah, so this is a good news, actually, because it shows how much the potential is, even economic one.
Please, would you like to add, or would you like to have another question
I can
here?
add one thought to this. I think you said it earlier, that the human race is actually a spectacular one, because it's a great one, because it can adjust, and that's actually what's happening, and might lead to the fact that there's much more to consume right now, but somehow humans adjust to the level of input they get. And while I believe it's a positive thing in the end right now, it might show that it balances out. The more input we get, we should be more happier, because there might be more interesting things coming our way, but we're adjusting.
It's called hedonistic adaptation.
Yes, right. Thank you very much. So that.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's kind of the story. Evolution, acceleration, development, more and more and more, and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's hard to don't see the success in development that never stops. But it's maybe one of the reasons why we want a metaverse, because our biological bodies has limitations, but we can have the virtual ones. And, they can have more than 24 hours.
No,
in a virtual...
No.
I mean, as experience.
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
We
We can compress time. Space on the metaverse. Space doesn't really matter. The world of Minecraft is 4 times larger than the face of the. But time we still haven't figured out.
But I think maybe this is also, we are maybe lucky. I don't know if you know the episode of Black Mirror.
Oh yeah.
White Christmas. And in White Christmas they could work with time, and it was a hell. So maybe it's better that the days still have 24 hours, and we have our limitations, and we need the balance.
Yep.
How would you respond for inequalities?
Yeah, well,
I will repeat it again.
Oh, yeah.
How would you respond to the inequalities in terms of connecting to internet across the globe?
Yeah, one of the smallest inequalities we as mankind had in our history. We had much larger inequalities in access to water, food, education, culture, anything. So of course, there are still parts of the world where you can't have internet access. But what is it? 59% of people
Yeah.
have internet access, which is amazing. That's more than people who have toothbrushes or things like that.
Yeah, but there's a term digital divide, and it's actually describing this thing that not everyone have access to internet, and even if you have access, you don't have the same level of access to it. So, of course.
Well, what
there
is
are
it? I
different-
mean, some paid
You have a
porn
slow
sites and
internet, you know.
Netflix.
It's painful.
Otherwise, everything is the same. I mean, Bill Gates does not have better internet than my son.
Yeah,
There are no two internets. This is what I was trying to point. Once
There may
you
be
are on
different
the internet-
connections, but same internet.
Once you are on the internet, you can do, and as Marx says, the difference between human beings is capital, and that's all the capital you need is a phone which is affordable to more than, and also look at it this way, was it now 13 years since iPhone was invented? 13, right?
Yeah.
13 years. And in 13 years, this innovation
What it did.
has already spread over more than half of the population of the Earth, which is amazing. So yeah, still some inequalities, but
Getting better.
marginally smaller than any historic ones.
But it needs to be solved. I mean, the whole discussion we had here today, metaverse, singularity, and so on. If you have people on the planet which do not have access to all of that, the gap will increase.
Yeah, in time, they will. It's easier to get a cell phone than a house.
I think there was a question over there.
Yeah, I got a question.
The question is ownership of the digital assets.
Yeah.
Your favorite?
I don't know. I try to be. So let me just say that I have the same opinion like I have towards cryptocurrencies. It will be no. I don't even. I understand the value of cryptocurrencies. I don't really see the value of let's say the whole. Are you talking about NFTs or do you want to mean the ledger web?
The broader spectrum of NFTs or land or anything else.
Like the Decentraland, for example. But wasn't there, just remind me, wasn't there already once, when I was about 20, there was this Second Life?
Second Life.
There is
Right.
still Second Life.
So they're still kind of running. It had a huge hype. I don't really see how Decentraland is better than Second Life.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it can be like with neural networks. There was always this winter of AI, so everyone was telling, no, it doesn't make any sense. And then there was a moment of a history, and it started to make sense. So maybe it's a difference between Second Life, which is still running, and a metaverse of a person.
Could be. But my opinion towards cryptocurrencies is that form of it will be the currency of the future for two reasons. A planetary civilization will need a planetary currency, and a digital civilization will prefer a digital. When we used to love gold, we had gold currency. When we used to love nations, we still do, we have national currency. This will go away, I think, very soon, and we will have some sort of crypto monetary policy, automated, although that in itself isn't such a... let's just imagine that we already had this. That we already had, let's say Bitcoin has become the backbone currency of the world, and other currencies would just be like local tokens. Let's just imagine that. What would we do in order to do quantitative easing? What would we do in the year 2008 and 9 when the central banks had to, against all of our and their beliefs, artificially go against the market and press the interest rates to zero? If there wouldn't be central banks and we would leave the interest rates according to the banks, then the interest rate would go extremely high because nobody trusted anybody, and what you do when you don't trust, you increase the interest rates. So the central banks artificially, politically, highly politically, went into decreasing the interest rates to zero and keeping them there for almost 10 years. If you add Fed and the Bank of Japan and the European Central Bank, it was more than 10 years flying in a super stupid, something we never knew from textbooks. Now tell me, or I ask myself, what would we do if we already had a Bitcoin, for example, where you couldn't manipulate the money supply, which is the whole idea of cryptocurrency, that you can't politically manipulate the currency. What would we do? It would probably lead to a very, very severe waves of bankruptcies. So that's one example of ledger-based, automated planetary. But in the future, I believe that it will be the currency of this planet. But so far, it's bungee jumping. And that same, to me, is the opinion about NFTs. Invest in it, one monthly, 2 monthly incomes, but don't get hooked. I have so many friends who went so-called all in, which means they 100% evacuated the IRL, which means in real life. It is also an abbreviation that the young generation uses for the world called irrelevant. So they took everything away from the irrelevant world, sold their houses, and went full into crypto. And I don't see them jumping around in joy.
Okay, I'm not an economist, and I wouldn't, flee from the irrelevant world. But if you are a crypto billionaire, it makes perfect sense that you want a Mona Lisa of our time.
Yeah.
So I think it depends if you are a crypto billionaire.
But it could go the way that Sechka went.
Yeah, but there is already.
That was a mere fad.
Right? I don't know, but I might be wrong. I'm not a good investor. Ask Karel here. I don't have a good nose.
I think that there is a difference. I think that there will always be some kind of historical value.
Yeah.
Something that was first or something.
You want my Sechka? I still have
Oh, yeah. The thing is that they are not stable, eternally stable. So Sechka.
All right.
Do you have NFTs?
There is a question over there.
I have.
Okay. So see.
I'm sorry, there is a question over there. What's your opinion about open source metaverse, so to speak?
Yeah. So I use Android. That's an answer. Those who use iPhone do not believe in open source.
I do. I have
But you
an
use
iPhone,
iPhone?
and I do believe in open
Well,
source.
there are. Okay.
And I like
They
the
are
idea.
Catholics who are indeed Protestants inside.
It's laziness.
But your question reminded me. I think there is another new currency, much more interesting to me philosophically than the crypto, because the cryptocurrencies or the digital currencies, and okay. So 15 years ago, I was smoking something illegal somewhere in the mountains, and somebody asked me around the bonfire, how would an ideal currency look like? And I was like, this was my hippie period, and I said, okay, well, you know what? I would like, if we could print our own money, and if money would actually reflect the joy that if I buy beer, that it would actually reflect the joy that it gives me. And if that would happen, then the flow of money, we would invest in poor children, because one loaf of bread gives them, you would have so big return over investment. If people could pay with, for example, their smiles. I was answering 15 years ago when I was a hippie. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually harvest the real joy? So in this way, food wouldn't follow the rich and the fed, and we would stop inventing canchina danchim and caviars with, lobster-flavored langoustine is my most favorite last discovery. There is such a thing as lobster-flavored langoustine. Because we are trying to feed the rich. That's where the money is. Money gravitates towards money. If money gravitated towards use, we would have massive levels of investment into poor countries, because there, the leverage would be much bigger. Okay, so this was the story 15 years ago when I had long hair and I was hippie. I wake up 15 years later actually realizing that that wasn't so stupid and so out of the woods, because we have something, we don't call it smile, but we call it likes. And we call it thumbs up. And that really is becoming a new democratic, spontaneous, non-centralized compared to all the crypto, because crypto is centralized, very heavily centralized. You can't print your own, or you can print your own Tomáš dollars, but that's not going to do me much good. So that, to me, philosophically speaking, or economically speaking, is something to follow much closer. Kids pay. This is why this baby-to-baby industry can work, because that 5-year-old is actually sending likes to the other 5-year-old, and that other 5-year-old is actually cashing them through Dogecoins first. But you can really turn that into real dollars through which you can you can use money. And the likes in Africa are the same like the likes in America, or the likes in Switzerland, or the likes in Luxembourg. It's not a fully developed currency yet. I'm not claiming this. You cannot, for example, store it very well, but you can store it for 2-3 months, likes. You can transfer your likes a little bit. But it's just something that for those of you who are philosophy, economy, sociology laden, to follow.
So after all this decentralization and freedom and everything, we are coming back to Mark Zuckerberg and his metaverse with his likes.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was a nice turn. Yeah, I mean, it's a functional, it's unlike the ledger, it's a functional model that actually kids can work on. Kids cannot go to Decentraland. I mean, not have much fun there anyway, right? Can they? Can a kid go into Decentraland and have fun there, except for walking on the streets? I mean, what's the point of owning a Mona Lisa that nobody else can look at? The value comes from the very fact that we all enjoy it. I mean, the reason why we all like dollars is because everybody believes in dollars. This is what Harari says, that the biggest storytellers today are not Rowling or J.R.R. Tolkien, but the central bankers. They've created a story in which Osama bin Laden believed as much as George W. Bush did. They both believed in the dollar. They didn't believe in the same God, they didn't believe in this and that, but on the dollar, they were both happy to have some.
When it comes to money, we are all of the same religion, right?
It's the most ecumenical religion of this planet, as of yet. We had others,
True.
But today, money and belief in growth and capitalism is the most ecumenical religion.
It's Christian economical view, using Facebook as a biggest network, which is, you think, so we don't think about platform capitalism, surveillance capitalism, extraction of data.
It's exactly the money that you pay. It's the currency, is the attention. They only want your soul, like the devil. It only wants your soul. But I mean, Facebook can go down tomorrow and there'll be 10,000 other better substitutes. Facebook is not in any way non-disposable. As for I care, there'll be, when Facebook starts annoying people enough, this is speaking like a stupid 101 economist, a new company will come and people will migrate there. Look at what happened to WhatsApp. People started migrating to Telegrams. I don't even know what to reply today to. And when somebody sends me a message, I don't know, was it an email? Was it an SMS? Was it a WhatsApp? Was it a Telegram? Was it a Signal? Was it a Messenger? Was it an Instagram? Was it Twitter? I don't know. I'm completely overhauled with choices. So for example, in China, I think this is one thing that works really well, is this WeChat.
WeChat works well.
But you have to pay with your data.
So if attention replaced money, so you don't have to pay by money, you pay by attention.
Yeah.
Can we have something new and not, I don't know, ledgers?
Give me a week. I'll answer you in a week. This is exactly what I've been subconsciously asking myself. Nobody really asked me the question, but this would be something that we could go forward paying with this attention, like lucidly, not hidden cookies, but lucid, cognitive. Yes, I want to this and this and this and that. That I think could be the currency of the future, is attention. It's actually even what we do in work. I mean, artist is not really paid for. Anyway, this is a completely interesting but other topic. Maybe we should do a next one about this new economics of attention.
Creative Talks.
On air.
See you soon. It's a wrap. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's have a one.
Thanks for the beer.
Oh, welcome.
Creative Doc. Start innovating with us today. We build ventures from idea to scale.
That's right.